you check the children? Show a little match
Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play?
Sometimes that is better.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
Robert Duell.
Fuego here.
Marcia.
And we are here to review The Headhunter. This is a independent horror feature period piece that came out in 2019. I think it was a Shudder exclusive. Right?
It is now, yeah.
It is now? Okay. This movie is only about 72 minutes long, so an hour and 12 minutes, and in other words, it is a very lean and, in my opinion, a very mean movie. I really enjoyed this. I love that I think it could have been a little bit longer. I wouldn't have had a problem with it, but I also didn't have a problem that it was as short as it was. I think it served the story fine. It got in, it got out, and I was happy in the end, which is more than a lot of partners can say out there. So it's ultimately very worth your while, in my estimation. I'm a big creature fan, and this is basically a creature movie in Viking times, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
Robert.
I love this movie. I absolutely love this movie. The Viking Age style with the monster mix, super cool.
Mm-hmm.
I was waiting for this movie immediately from when I saw the trailer. The only disappointment I had was just the last. Other than that, the whole hour and 12 minutes was perfect amount especially for the minimal dialogue that you actually do get.
Mm-hmm.
But it's so fast paced and it doesn't really slow down too much per se. But no, I love the hell out of this movie. Almost every part.
Yeah, this movie kicks ass, man, and I honestly like that they committed to an ending that is a little what you wouldn't have expected, I guess. And it's violent, and I mean, props to this dude's performance because he had so much to shoulder, and he, with so little dialogue, is still able to get across so much emotion with just, his expressions and just like ponderous staring and stuff. And I mean, his backstory is very cool on how he came into this situation in the first place. And I mean, I love creatures too, just like you, man. So, I mean, just this guy's collecting heads of creatures. It's badass. So, there you go.
Marcia Parker.
I liked it. It was very different from what we've been watching. It, like you said, there's hardly any dialogue, but it was still full of story, and they utilize other aspects like sound design and just the visual cues and the fact that the lead was able to express so much and tell so much of the story without having to use a lot of dialogue says a lot about everyone involved when it came to this movie. And it was so beautiful. It was a beautiful place. Every shot I was like, can I go? Like, it was incredible. So I thought this was refreshing. I really liked it. I wasn't like super overwhelmed with it, but it was refreshing. It was like getting like a nice refresh of the horror palette. And it's just a nice, also a relaxing kind of movie to watch too, even though with all the gore and the violent aspects in it. So I appreciated it a lot.
Yeah, the movie has a lot of very special traits to it. One, there's a lot of action in the movie, but when you think about it in retrospect, it's not all or very much at all on camera. Most of it is done through sound design, and like what Marcia was saying, without the words, without a boatloads of dialogue, this movie has to do what movies should do, which is show, don't tell. And it manages to tell a very convincing story only by showing what's actually going on. So the story is about a man who is living outside of a Viking settlement, and every time he hears a horn go off, he knows that it's his time. He's a monster hunter, essentially. He lives outside, and he is taking care of monsters regularly. Every time this horn goes off, he goes and takes care of business. And as you find out through the story, when he goes one time and he's summoned, he sees the creature that he's supposed to go after, and he recognizes it, and it holds a much deeper meaning as to why he's doing what he's doing. And that battle is what is the third act of the movie. And again, this is the kind of period piece that I can get into, because it's not like Victorian era stuff that I just don't jibe with. This is something that I really could get into. I love Viking stories anyway, and this guy just, like Robert said, he had a lot to shoulder. I think Robert said it, or maybe Marcia. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Whoever said it.
One of us.
This guy had a lot. Fuego. There you go. This guy had a lot to shoulder, and he did an outstanding job of it. So the story, while simple, was extremely effective in doing what it set out to do. Marcia, why don't you talk about your what do you think about the story?
I thought the story was very touching and sad, because I don't know how much we want to give away. Or
I think we're about as far as we want to go.
Okay, yeah. So there was a reason why he was hunting this monster, and it comes back in a way that you're unexpected, and it tears your heart out even more. But it's just, again, it's something that you learn through, like, organically, and you experience it organically, and you feel it, and you just get entrapped by it, and it leaves you all throughout the rest of the story, and it just makes sense. And I don't know, like, you're rooting for him, and you wanna see him succeed in his journey. So I thought they did a fantastic job with it. I mean, it's a simple story, like you said, but it's one that has been told a billion times in a new way, which is nice. I liked it. I thought it was really good.
You guys, anything to add on the story?
Not particularly.
Not as much else that we can add without
Yeah,
going
yeah,
into that
exactly.
spoiler
Yeah.
territory at
Fair
this
enough.
point.
Yeah.
This reminded me in some ways of Outlander, that one that you recommended to me. Yeah.
Again, another Viking story. that I
Outlander is
love.
fantastic.
Yeah, we
it's
still haven't
really-
reviewed that on the channel either.
Oh, we should.
We really need to. So acting, we all agree he
was
nailed it. He
amazing.
carried it, right? Sound design played a huge part in this because, again, the sound design was telling the story along with his acting, and so you might not pick up on the fact that a horn blew every time he went to go and take care of a creature, and not everyone might put together all the little intricacies of the story, but man, it's done so well, and the sound design only aids with that. I mean, you guys all like it too.
It's like the sound design its own character in itself.
True.
Yeah.
It's the storyteller, which is very fascinating. I like it a lot.
And they definitely utilize the sound very well in this, especially for how their budget was. They couldn't show as much as what I'm sure they wanted to with the budget that they had.
Right.
Yeah.
But they utilized that sound design so perfectly, and it was very effective. Like, it actually kind of made you cringe at times, and
The cracking of
yeah,
bones
like it
and
was
just-
crazy. Yeah, like they were perfect.
Yeah.
That's all I say about that.
Yeah, and I mean, that sound aspect that you mentioned, that actually helps you understand the deeper depth of the story. It helps propel things forward to a degree. So I mean, this is low budget filmmaking, obviously, and if we're going to segue into effects, there was stuff in the shadows that I wish could have been seen a little bit better.
Well, there was one effect that unfortunately was like, oh, that's hard to make it look like a genuine fight between a dude and that.
Yeah.
And like,
Where'd the light come from? Where'd the light come from in the cave?
Oh, well, I don't know, but when the confrontation happened, it's tough to make that. It's sort of the same problem that like your Child's Play movies kind of tend to have, and so I was like, oh, but I forgave and got over
Let
it.
it go.
Yeah.
You gotta forgive those type of things. Now, like, it didn't feel low budget to me. Like, we've watched we used to watch hundreds of low budget films, and some are like really, really low budget, and they feel low budget because they're trying to do more than what they can afford. They didn't do that here. They put the money where it needed to go, and it paid off. And I feel like that any low budget filmmaker should look at this movie and learn from it and say, okay, what can we do to make this movie not feel low budget but still be able to portray the story that we're trying to pull off. So
'Cause I think this was only maybe like $80,000.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really
Like,
low.
it was a very, very low budget.
Well, I mean, it helps where they set it. You know, like we mentioned earlier, the setting, the beauty of some of the shots and some of the cinematography that we got, and the set design. His home with all of like the heads and stuff on it. I mean, it just felt very authentic. And I mean, props to just the inventiveness of trying to work within the constraints of your budget and still making it feel so much bigger than what they spent on it. That's truly
Well,
brilliant
the
stuff.
designer of all the heads
Yeah.
and everything,
Yeah,
it was
all
great.
practical.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone a different looking
Distinctive.
creature. Yeah, it was
And
so
I will
cool.
say this: there's a werewolf in there.
Yeah,
There was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of really cool stuff, and with little Easter egg heads for horror fans. So
It's one that just makes you wonder. You're like, if they had more money and could have made a bigger,
man.
longer film,
if he's part of a guild of these guys,
See,
tell
that
me
would be
more
cool
stories
if they
about
did like
that.
an expansive on that.
Yeah, I would love that.
yeah,
That'd
in
be
like a
fun
different village or something. He's
Yeah,
protecting
exactly.
somebody else.
It would be fun if they were able to use this as like a Kickstarter into something
Yep,
bigger.
just focus on
It's
other
received-
monsters.
I would back the hell out of
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
they did
Yeah.
if they
It's
continued
received
this.
a ton of acclaim. It has amongst horror critics all across the world. So,
As it should.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, as it should.
So I think that's going to cover it, guys. The Headhunter, now available on Shudder, at least as of the time we record this. This is one of those movies that after watching it, I'm like, damn, when are these Shudder releases going to start to hit Blu-ray? Because I've seen some hit DVD, but I haven't seen them on Blu-ray for whatever reason. So I really want to get this Blu-ray once it becomes available, because it's totally worth revisiting. And again, with such a short buy-in at 72 minutes, it's something you can show a friend, and even someone that's not that into the horror genre, I think could appreciate this.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
for
Yeah,
sure.
without a doubt.
So, yeah, check it out, you guys. If you enjoyed the video, click the like button and subscribe, and ding that notification bell to make sure you don't miss our live streams or episodes like this going forward. If you have seen The Headhunter, let us know in the comments down below what your thoughts are, or if you haven't seen it yet, did this video make you want to go watch it? I always like hearing that we are influencing people towards good horror, so let us know. And while you're down there, click the link in the description box to become a patron if you so desire. You can actually start choosing movies for us to review and puppeteer us if you want. So if you do so, a great big thank you for that as well. Until next time, you guys, I've been Cecil Laird.
Robert Duell.
Gracias, Jaime Fuego.
Marcia Parker.
And remember,
Stay
stay scared!